Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to RSF1's weekly podcast. My name is RSF1 Bundle. I am by myself tonight, but hopefully I can do this justice. Verstappen is away working. His little socks off at the moment, so although I'm sure he's probably going to be watching this. But hey, yes, not on a Saturday this week either, because I'm working tomorrow. But yeah. This is going to be same as our usual viewers. So for anyone new watching, this is basically me telling you the highlights of the Chinese Grand Prix that was week number 3 of RSF1. And it was a very entertaining week. We had some very good races, lots of intriguing stories developing right now, lots of rivalries going on. Obviously, the overall constructors, which we will get to at the end of the show, will be the last little segment. Started growing at the moment. People are very much interested in who is on top, and so on and so forth. Let me just get the stream up for myself, so I can have some comments going on. Hopefully we can have loads of people watching. Let me just get that up for you. And I can have any comments coming through. So, obviously, we had the Chinese Grand Prix just gone. I'm a little bit distracted as I'm trying to type in the Twitch website at the moment. But here we go. But just to run you through the format of this week, a little bit simple this week. We are in development of adding stuff to this podcast, so bear with us. But as it's just myself, we're going through the race recaps, give you the results, and basically general sort of rundown of how each race went. Obviously, if you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched it, obviously go onto YouTube. But if you want a summary, this is what I'm there for. You've got the championship standings for each one, for each tier. Then we're going to do the overall constructors, and if I've got time, I'll have a look at the next Grand Prix, which is at the Baku City Circuit. So get a few more people to come in. Stream is up. If you have any comments, any questions, please fire them away to me. Got currently 4 viewers at the moment. Hopefully that'll bump up a little bit. But let's get going, shall we? Just in the background, it's just a little background footage. Just me doing time trial on the streaming account. So I didn't corner cut too much. I didn't spin either, so it's not my best driving. But hey, it's in the background just for if you want to see. So we began on Sunday, as we always do, with the F2 race. The ever competitive, well, every tier is competitive, but as I race in now, I know how competitive it is. Yeah, it was a very intriguing race. Lots of stories going on. We had, I believe, yes, RSF1 Sainz on pole position in the Red Bull. Got his very first pole position of the season, his first pole position in a while. And I definitely congratulate him on that. It was a very good lap from him. Really hooked it up together. And shows that this season he'll be one to watch out for. However, we must focus on our driver of the day at the end of the race, and our eventual race winner, RSF1 Schumacher. Started in 5th place as he drives for the Alfa Romeo. Had a very good start past RSF1 Massa and Man with the Cash, who also qualified well in P3. He passed them into the first corner and then immediately put the pressure onto Sainz in the early going. And the two of them engaged a very strong battle. RSF1 Brundle, myself, was in 3rd. I couldn't keep up with the top two, them two in a class of their own. And I was happy with 3rd at the time, because behind me there was a whole gaggle of midfield, which always is in F2. There was a lot of battling from like 4th down to about 10th in the early stages. Unfortunately, there was an incident between Massa and Shane unfortunately had his race compromised because of that. Massa also, he had to sort of partially recover But yeah, it was a battle between the two at the front, Schumacher and Sainz. Schumacher got a very, I think got the undercut on Sainz. Managed to get the lead and basically held him off. Said at the end of the race, he had to really push to the limit, something that he's not really used to doing, or not really, what's the word? Not used to doing. Unused to doing it, if unused is a word. Basically, Sainz pushed him, long story short. But it was Schumacher that ended up winning the race in the Alfa Romeo. He was closely followed by Sainz in the Red Bull. Obviously unhappy not to get the race win, but good to kick off his season. He got his first points of the season. Myself finished in third in Ferrari. Again, couldn't keep pace with the top two, but was happy enough to be in third place. China's not really my strong track, so on the podium, so I took that. Man with the cash, got some decent points in the Racing Point in fourth place. Fifth was Tabitsi in the Haas. Has had a very, very good start to the season, Tabitsi. So all well and good, all being very consistent. RSF1 Seal, I must mention Seal, obviously promoted from F3. Had a very decent race in F2. Obviously, be interested to see what he will do against the front runners here. But a good, solid, decent race from Seal. Nobody really complained about him, to be honest. But yeah, he got 6th in the Renault. 7th was Massa in the Haas. Qualified very decently, but had a difficult start actually. Was slow to get off the marks. But recovered after the incident with Shane in the Renault. Brezina in the Alpha was 8th, with Lee and McLaren 9th. And Shane, despite that incident that he got, he was not very happy about it, but he got 10th place in the Renault, picking up the points. Good evening to K-Mag, thank you very much. ISF1 Louder, Blazer Guns, good evening to you. Just discussing your various races there. Thank you for joining, and obviously if you have any comments about your race or the one I'm talking about, help me guide through this, because I am by myself today. That will be good. So yeah, very good stuff from F2. Championship standings. Now, I will mention this. Obviously, the results and the standings as it stands is how I've got them. They do not include penalties or anything else like that. I'm not here to talk about Stuart's penalties, as always. So, it is just as I had them from the race director at the end of the race, and I've added them up together myself. So, they are different. Stuart's reports, I believe, should be out tomorrow, or obviously be patient with them, but there may be changes, so let's clearing that up. So championship standings in F2 currently, Schumacher actually takes the lead of the championship now after that win in China. He's now on 43 points. RSF1 Bundle is on 40. Tabitsi is on 37 points, again being very consistent this season so far. Brezina is in 4th place in the Alfa Romeo. So good strong start for Alfa. They must be leading constructors. I don't have them, but they must be. Brezina's on 22 points. Sainz, as I said, got a season underway with 18 points. He's now on 18 points. So there you go. Man in the Cash is on 14. Iox is on 13. Massa with 12. Seal, his first race, as I said, in F2, gets 8 points. Lee is on 7. Josh SO4 is on 4 points, Smoking My Base is on 2, and Shane is on 1 point. Good evening, Patronus. Yes, I must mention this as well. Patronus in F2 has been put into F3 for now. I say for now, probably will stay there. I'm sad about this because he was my teammate in Ferrari. Yes, he's gone to the traitor team, Alpha, the B team, that is. Yeah, all the best to you, Patronus, in F3, and obviously I'll talk about your race later on when we get to F3, but his last race in F2, sorry to see him, but we do have a new driver coming in F2. Can I say it? Am I official to say it? Yes, it's Rapid Sprays. He will be returning to the league. He's had some time off for a while. Used to be F1, obviously. Apparently has lost a bit of pace. He's now on the pad when he used to be on the wheel, so be interesting to see. Yes, he has joined me in Ferrari in F2, so F2 still strong and going forward. But yeah, very good stuff from F2. Kicked off the week nicely. 14 viewers so far, thank you very much for joining. Again, if you're new to joining us, the background footage is just me doing time trials, just so you can be distracted by something while I endlessly talk. It's just myself tonight, RSF1 bundle, so should be back to normality next week and back on Saturday. Should be. So normal service will be resuming next week. How much have I got left of this? Still got quite a few. Right, so let's move on to F4. Oh, where do we start with F4? My god. So, what I would say with F2 is F2 had only one penalty. One race director penalty, by the way. No corner cutting or anything else like that. So, yeah, it was very good. F4. Oh, and no safety cars in F2. The safety car was back on this week. F4 had a safety car right at the end. But obviously, we'll get to that. We will get to that. But the early going of the race, this was obviously commentated by me and Vettel RSF1. It was a weird evening, very weird evening. My comms partner had trouble spectating, so I had to leave and join. I had to leave and join. We missed qualifying, which apparently was very, very close. Obviously, I'd have any evidence of that at all, but it was very close. Top four was separated by a 10th, apparently. And it was the new boy to F4, Schumacher SF7, the new boy to Ferrari as well, joining into F4. And he got pole position in the qualifying session. But we kicked things off on the race. And boy, it started off. It was a very good race. Battles all the way through, as you'd expect. But the early stint was mostly dominated by the back and forth battle between Quaker Oats and Joshua. Very, very good battle. Unfortunately, it didn't end very well, but gloss over that because it was a very, very good battle. And I must congratulate the pair of them. Very close to Unity's and Karun's battle in Bahrain and F1 last week. Back and forth, kept on changing. Me, obviously the streamer, could not go to anywhere else because of them two, because they stole the show. But as I mentioned, unfortunately, it came to a very sticky end. Lightest attacks that happened between the pair of them around turn 7 and 8, the long left-hander in the middle sector. And that was it. Quaker was round, he got damaged. Fortunately, he managed to carry on, which was the key thing, because Joshua retired on the spot. Off camera, he spun and could not correct the car in time. He went into the wall, retired on the spot. They buried the hatchet afterwards. The comments between the two in the members' lounge, which was great to see. They had no quarrels, basically. They said racing incident, which is absolutely brilliant, you know. How it should end. But there we go. Shame for the pair of them, because as I said, brilliant race up on battle up to that point. Behind them, obviously I didn't catch a lot of it because all the action was at the front. But behind them, you had Tom Eco, who had a very good start from kind of midfield and qualifying. Was kind of holding down 4th place at the time. You had the new Mercedes driver, Cecil Webber, was having a decent race back there as well. Then you had Reefer, who was another new driver. Had a lot of new drivers in F4. And they good. Who's that in the... Well, that's just a weird thing. I'll just ignore that. Louder. Sad to see you go, but wish you the best in F3. Yes. Elo Easton. In Elo Brundle, so Elo Easton. It's hello Brundle, not Elo Brundle, but anyway. Good evening, thank you. Yes, as I was saying, so there were new drivers in F4 this week. Reefer was one of them, and he had a very good, decent race as well. No complaints, apparently. And then we went to the incident, and that brought out the safety car, and that completely bunched everybody back up, as it normally would do. Hello, VRC Dan, in the comment section, thank you. Yeah, safety car, and yeah, that leveled the playing field. Those that were having a difficult race could then get points, and those at the front had like another go to win the race. It was anybody's gain, or anybody that went on soft tyres. Because not everybody did so. Tom Eco and I believe Daniel P45 opted to stay out on the hard tyres to try and fend off the guys on softs, and these included Blazer Guns, Quaker, Cecil Weber. So let me start off this again. Sweet, there we go. Seamless, there we are. Yeah, they had a load of drivers on soft tyres trying to get behind. Unfortunately, there were a few penalty incidents in behind the safety car. We are all a little bit rusty, so but definitely people would have to get used to people being behind the train on the safety car to mind the gap between the car in front and the car behind. But that's something that can just be worked on, no worries at all. But in the end, it ended up being a four-way battle between Blazer, Quaker Oats, Tom Eco, and Cecil Weber for the race victory, and it went down to the very last lap into the hairpin, where we had Blazer, Quaker, and Tom Eco go into the hairpin. Pretty much all three of them had a chance to win, but in the end it was Blazer Guns in the Williams that picked up his first race win of the season. A very good win from him, grabbed the opportunity that was given to him, but still had to work for it, of course, and he went on to win the race. Quaker Oats in the Red Bull, as I said, unfortunate to get caught up in that incident with Joshua, but very fortunate to get second place in my view, because could have easily retired on the spot, so he will very happily take that in the Red Bull. Tom Eco got third place in the Toro Rosso and got my driver of the day for that race, just for his staying out of trouble. I believe he qualified like 8th or something, so in the end finished in third place. Fourth was CCR Weber in the Mercedes. Fifth was Daniel P45 in the Haas. Reefer in the new boy in the Alfa Romeo was 6th. 7th was Porter in the Renault. 8th was Raikkonen in the Alfa. Had a difficult qualifying. I believe qualified in 12th or 13th. I know it's 14th actually. And then he managed to salvage some points, but only in 8th place. 9th was Skyline in the Renault, and 10th was Scotsman in the Haas. Yeah, a few drivers obviously got caught up in a few troubles, but their pace that they certainly showed throughout the race, we'll see them coming through. So, yep, good stuff from F4. For me, obviously, me commentating, and obviously if Vettel agrees with me, keep up the good work, guys. Very good stuff in F4. Very good story at the moment. It's intriguing to watch. But going into the championship for F4, we had a big news thing from the beginning of F4, in which Kid Cudi, who had won the last two races, Australia and Bahrain, was not racing. So my question was he going to keep the lead? Because there was a big opportunity for those behind to catch him. In fact, he does keep the lead, and in fact his lead has only been cut by about 8 points. So Kid Cudi leads the championship at the moment on 50 points. Quaker Oats is up to second with 34. Blazer Guns is up to third on 31. Then we go to Raikkonen in fourth place. He's on 30 points. Daniel P45 is on 28. Then we go to Porter on 27. Skyline on 24. Tom Eco moves up to 19 points. RSF1 Junior and Cecil Weber both on 12 points each. Primus Gaming and Reefer on 8, Scotsman on 5, Bodder on 2, and Tedist on 1 point. So things shaping up, as I said, very nicely in F4. So very well done. So that was F4, and again, very good race from you guys. Yeah, crazy at the end. Crazy at the end. I had to sort of take a breather at the end of that. Then we move on to F1. So F1, they had, again, very good race from F1. It was a very intriguing battle through the grid. Ultra close qualifying, like last week in F1. So definitely keep up the good work with that. And it definitely shows that this is a lot closer than what it was last season. Obviously, Unity didn't dominate F1 last season, but won the championship with about 4 or 5 races to go. I believe it was Mexico. I will be very surprised if this goes the same way as it ends in Mexico. I'm pretty sure this will end, hopefully, the last race, if not the race before, because it's so very, very close. So much. Problem is with not the problem. The good thing is with F1 is from last season, you obviously got people coming up a little bit further as well, from mid-pack to now race victory. So good to see. Pole position went to RSF1 Karun. Now he had been quick all week long in practice, and people knew going into China he's very, very quick. His time trials are good. So the question was, could anybody compete with him? Could anybody even beat him? In the end, the two that stepped up to the plate was Unity Hush and Skunkburner, and the three of them engaged in, similar to what F4 had to begin with, a race-long battle, and similar to what Unity and Karun did in Bahrain the week before. Skunkburner joined in with this battle, and the three of them, again, back and forth, to and fro, again, which led to the highlights not really being much about the cars behind, but still, you had battles behind. You had the two Toro Rossos were of Pigeon and Lando were being shadowed by Ozza in the Red Bull and Gary in the Haas. Skunkburner did. I'm sure you did. Oh yeah, Skunkburner did beat you. Thank you, Karun in the chat. That's my data a little bit wrong. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, so my apologies. All three of you were close to qualifying, if I remember. Yeah, there were all good battles all throughout the field. In the end, Karun got the lead and managed to hold it after some very strong attacks from Unity and Skunkburner. Got I think over a second gap onto the final lap, and that proved pivotal because Unity and Skunkburner battled for second place, which went all the way down to the hairpin on the last lap. 2 corners to go. Unity got the inside and got second place on Skunkburner. But very strong race for Skunkburner. Definitely shows me that he's going to be in the line for race victories this season. But it was Karun in the Haas that took the race victory. Driver of the day to boot as well for his very strong defense. Definitely shows that he can also challenge for the title this season, to see how consistent he can be. Unity Hush in the Ferrari was second. Couldn't repeat the feat from last week in beating Karun, but managed to finish behind him, as I said, overtaking Skunkburner on the hairpin on the last lap. Skunkburner was third in the Alpha. Mr. Pigeon Bunch continued his strong start to the season with another 4th place in the Toro Rosso. Ozza in the Red Bull got his best finish of the season so far in the Red Bull in 5th. Then came the other Toro Rosso of RSF1 Lando in P6. So good evening for Toro Rosso in that tier. 7th was Gary in Haas. So good strong day for Haas as well. So obviously we'll get to that point at the end of the season with overall constructors, see how they do. Easton in is the Red Bull, so good decent points for Red Bull, Toro Rosso and Haas there. 9th for No Shoals in the Racing Point, and Dyslexic got the last point in 10th in the Mercedes after a last corner crash between 2 drivers who were in the points, gave Dyslexic a point. So, of the F1 Championship, and as I mentioned it before, these may change because of penalties, etc. I don't know, obviously, if F1 do. I'm just clearing the air here. That's what I've got. Series reports will be out soon. But Unity Hush leads the way in the championship. 58 points now he has. So good, solid defense to his title defense. Then we go to Karun and Skunkburner, both equal on 43 points. Then we go to Dyslexic in 441, so that point Could be key at the end of the season. If he wins by a point, then that point that he got in China could be very crucial. Pigeon Munch, as I said, very strong start to the season, keeping up with the top 4. He's on 34 points. Then a bit of a gap back to Ozza on 18 points. Then you got AMS Vettel and Lando on 12. AMS Eastern is on 7 points. Gary and Gary's on 6 points. Bamber Viking on 4. Verstappen on 3. No Shells on 2 points. Still a long way to go. Pretty much the entirety of that field can win races, and I'm pretty sure others will get their race wins throughout the course of the season. Of course, many still transitioning from wheel to pad to wheel, which obviously we know the wheel's quicker. So expect a few people to start jumping up a little bit in that division. But all is there, all still strong, and still the pinnacle of the league, and they're still showing this season why that is the case. Yeah, good stuff so far this week. Any more comments in the chat there? Hello to Dan. Forza Ferrari from Tom One's the best. Feel like I know who that is, but can't think. AMS Eastern Honda Power. And God's my save, who's Karun, correcting me on the pole position. So thank you. Yeah, I said hi to you, Eastern. You can't say hi again. All right. Unity Hush, hello. We've just gone through F1, so you just missed that. You haven't missed overall constructors. That's the end of the show. So, yeah, still got some time. We've still got 2 more races to go, and we get to the first one, which was F5 on the Wednesday. So, F5 was commentated by Raikkonen and myself. I filled in for Amber Viking on that. Forza Ferrari from Lauda. Hello, Mr. Brundle. Hello, Mr. Timmer. Easton, proud of myself being on 7 points. Yep, it's still very early days. Anyone who's on single figure digits, do not worry. Do not worry. Still a long way to go. It's like, was it 18, 19 races to go? So, plenty of time. Plenty of time. So, yes, F5, commentated by Raikkonen and myself this week. And was a very good race as well. So pretty much all 5 races had their own stories to tell, all very good. None were bad, basically. But the early stages was the story of Conatod, who's had a difficult start to the season up until this point. 18 races ago. Thank you, Easton. He's had a difficult start to the season. Only on 5 points coming into China, but seemed to be on it. Topped Q1, Q2, and Q3. And the story, the early question, was who was going to be the challenger towards him. As this is stopped again. There we go. Yes, who was going to be the challenger for him? And actually ended up being a choice between CCL Clark and Kazi. Unfortunately, though, Kazi had his attempt to battle for the lead hampered a little bit because he lagged out the session. Dropped to about 6th, 7th place and lost about 20 seconds on Conatod. So unfortunately, he couldn't battle. And with Conatod obviously controlling the pace at the front, he didn't need to push. Behind them, we had a very heated battle between the 2 Mercedes of Clark and Albon. Obviously, Military Virus in there as well. So all of them battling for the last step on the podium, 4th and 5th place as well. Rebster was in there and managed to get himself into kind of a net 3rd, 4th place. Unfortunately, he had a mistake on the long turn 7 and 8 and brought out the virtual safety car, which Conatod took and pushed up his lead at the front to even more, made his winning gap even bigger. So a lot of things fell for Conatod. Other battles during that point, we had recovering Alonso, because he had a little bit of a mistake midway through the race. Had to recover his position, but finished off quite strongly. What else was that? Obviously, Kazi in the Renault. As I said, dropped about 7th or 8th place after his leg out of the session. Eventually came back to finish on the podium, so very good recovery drive from himself. But it was Connor Todd in the Haas taking the win and even getting the Grand Slam. So the race win, fastest lap, pole position, and the drive of the day as well. So got all 4 things. Was just on it all week, and as I said, had struggled up until this point. So very well done to him. The Haas driver doing very, very well. CCL Clark in the Mercedes. Again, battled off his teammate Albon, who unfortunately did not score in the points. I don't think he finished either. In there, they made slight contact in the hairpin around about lap 6 or 7, I believe. So, still some chemistry to go on between the two. But yeah, Clark finished in 2nd, ahead of the unfortunate Kazi. But Kazi very well covered to 3rd. 4th was Military Virus in the Williams. Zombie Head in the Red Bull 5th. Picks up his first points of the season. Obviously, used to be in F4. Did his first race in Bahrain, didn't finish in the points, but now he can kick his campaign off with 5th place. 6th was Timmer in the Toro Rosso, followed by Alonso in the Alpha. Timonique in the Racing Point was one of the leading contenders after Bahrain. Had a difficult race, but still got some points in 8th. 9th was Jay Locker, who, if you remember, he got that 2nd place in Australia. Could have been the win, but got that 2nd in Australia and got caught up in a couple of things in Bahrain, done the same in China, but still covered to 9 points, so still got points, which is good. And the last point went to RSF1 Button in the 2nd Alpha. So yeah, all very good from F5. Virtual safety car. I believe there was 2 virtual safety cars. No, there was 1 full safety car on the first lap because, yeah, Zombie Head. That's the thing. That's I remember. Zombie had actually no front wing on the first lap, so he recovered very well to finish in 5th place. I can't believe I forgot about that. I thought it was the other Red Bull driver, but yeah, he recovered very strongly. Finished in 5th place. Safety car was on the first lap. Nobody pitted really, but it was interesting how that came out for just his front wing. And as I said, there was virtual safety car for Rebster, who had a strong race up until that point, so very unfortunate to him. But yeah, good race to commentate on, and it was yeah, very entertaining to watch. And last but certainly not least is the F3 race, which was commentated by RSF1 Verstappen and Raikkonen, and that was very entertaining to watch. If not for the frontline speed, I'm not going to do it. I do not have the effort to do so. Yeah, VRC Dan, F3 time, baby. Yep. That was a very good, entertaining race to watch last night. Didn't have his controversies, of course, but we're not here to talk about controversies. I'm not stirring the pot. I don't want to. It's dangerous, so I'm not going to do that, and we know what we're talking about. But yeah, very good race. It was difficult to tell really who was going to be at the front. So like the winning driver didn't sort of reveal themselves until kind of late on. You obviously had the battle between VRC Dan, Stygian, and Eyes, and Petronas and Senna in the early going. Stygian and Dan managed to then get a little bit of a gap forward to the other 3, so we had a very intriguing battle between Eyes, Petronas and Senna, kind of waiting to see who done the move. Senna managed to get into 3rd place ahead of Eyes, but then Eyes did the undercut to get back into 3rd. Yeah, it was all good throughout there. Duffer in the Ferrari and Chrismick in the Ferrari had to sort of battle through the pack, got into some decent positions as well. Fortunately, Chrismick had a mistake on the long right-hander before the back straight, spun, had to recover, still did very good. We also had the debut of Salted Helmet. He had a good race from himself, I heard no complaints from him, so debutants all did well this week, which is all good to see. But yeah, it was VRC Dan in the Renault who took the race victory and the driver of the day to boot after repelling the battling Stygian in the Williams behind. He's very, very happy with that victory. I believe he's new to the league. That's your first race, Dan? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please, if that is. Yeah, Sorted Helmet is now a full driver now, yeah. Did realise that just now. Yeah, Dan took a very well-deserved victory, controlled the race once he got to the front, and as I said, repelled the Williams or Stygian second race. I thought it was your first, but there you go. Second race in the lead for him. Yeah, Stygian came home second in the Williams. He did get the fastest lap, so he does get 19 points for himself. And race from Bahrain. Okay. Eyes the Best finished in third place in the Toro Rosso. Battling off the guys behind. All very good from himself. Petronas in fourth place in the Alpha. Had some comings together with Senna, obviously. But again, that's the last time I'm going to say it. He came from in fourth place. Obviously from F2. He's now an F3. He's now an Alpha. So, I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, he had a very good debut race. Could be one to watch for the F3 title. Then Duffer in Ferrari was in 5th. Had a good solid race from himself. Recovered a little bit from a midfield qualifying. 6th was Muddy Biscuit, a brand new driver into the league. Again, very good stuff from himself. Good overtaking, good battling as well. So he's equipped himself very, very well in RSF1. 7th was CCRL Senna in the Red Bull with Old Manzi 8th in the Racing Point. 9th was Charismatic, and last but not least was Salted Helmet in the Toro Rosso to round off all the point scorers of the week. Yeah, very regular stuff from F3. Very entertaining as always. Verstappen with his frontline speed and frontline sand and many different jokes going along. Very fun last night. Distracted me from many, many things, so and put a smile to my face, as did all the racing as well. F3 very, very close, as it now shows the championship table in F3, because VRC Dan does not take the lead, actually. Sorry, got it wrong the way round. Stygian takes the lead of the championship with 37 points. Has had good, strong results in the first 3 races so far. VRC Dan is in second with 35 points after his race victory in China. Third place is Alco Saints. Did have the race, not the race victory, the title lead going into this race, but he had a difficult race. Ended up outside the points. I think he got caught up with a couple of things. But yeah, he's still third on 28 points. Fourth is Camo, who also had a difficult race to forget. He's on 25. Charismatic is on 24 points. CCR Senna is on 18 with Eyes the Best 15. Dangerous Dan also on 15. K-Mag on 13. Muddy Biscuit with 8. And McCracken with 8 points. Yeah, so all very good. I forgot to mention the F5 table, so I will go through F5 in a second. I've got a question. Brundle, your predictions after 3 rounds of top 3 challenges in each tier. Can you give me 5 minutes on that? Jake Moore, have I missed the points? Not the overall ones. Do you want F2's one? Where you're at, or do you want overall points? Oh, he wants overall points. Okay, yeah. After this little bit, it's got about another 10 minutes, and then overall points. Right. So, yes, you're on 12. I forgot to put you in Patronus. There we go. Give me a second. There we go. Not as organised as I thought. Yes, so what was the question? Let me scroll up. Predictions on 3 round, top 3 challenges in each tier. Right, F1, top 3 challenges. For me, probably, I think Unity will be up there. I think his consistency, he knows how to win the title, so you know he's going to be up there. It's all about consistency. I always say this, always consistency with finishing in the points. That's always going to be key. Race wins are key as well, but when things don't go your way, qualifying doesn't go your way, get front wing damage on the first lap, still recover the points, that's a good job. And to keep on doing that as much as possible. So I think Unity is very capable of doing that. I think Karun almost is kind of with Unity on pace, so I think he will be there as well. I think Dyslexic will be the other third guy for me in F1. Got very unlucky in China, but he's already showed in Australia and Bahrain that he has the capabilities of being up there. Could add another 2 or 3 onto that for me for title contenders, but as I said, anybody in F1 can win a race, and I'll stick with that. F2, I think Schumacher very strong contender for that. Can never count out those that used to be in F1, so Ioke, Smokey. I know Smokey's had a slow start, but I'm sure he will get there. Tabitsi. Tabitsi, I think, is a dark horse. Not many people are going to mentioning him, and he's going about his business very well. Yes, that's me in F2. F3 is too difficult, really, to call for me, to be honest. It's still very, very close. I'd probably go for people that have been in the league before, so like Stygian from last season, you know, Alco Saints possibly, Ice the Best, Patronus now that he's in F3 could be a contender, so very, very close in F3, very difficult to call. F4, Kid Cudi, obvious shout, because he's won the first 2 races. Obviously he'll be back in Baku, so we'll see how he can do there, but he's an obvious contender. His teammate Quaker Oats, who's now in second, Rebel 1-2 in that tier. Raikkonen, because he's, as I said, been in the lead before. Quaker Oats as well, you know, both of them are very close last season in F4. They'll be together, I'm sure. Primus will be there, Junior will be there. Many contenders in F4, so again, quite difficult. And F5, last but not least, F5. Again, I've got to pick out ones that have been in the lead before, because most of the drivers in F5 are still developing in their racecraft and setups and that. So my call in that's probably going to be Timmer, Lauder, Timonique, Cecil Clark, Rebster, Alonso. Yeah, all in there. So, but obviously, as Conatod has shown in China, could be alright. Dan, I said F3. I said Stygian, Alco, Eyes, Patronus in there. You missed F3. I swear I said F3. But yeah, F3 is very close, Dan. That's the difficulty of F3. Is still very, very close. So, and it's still early days. It's still early days in any tier. So, ask me to call that at a later date. So, right. I think that's it. Yes, I need to go over the F5 table. Sorry, I missed that out. But the F5 table as it stands, Conatod after the win in China is on 31 points. RSF1 Loud is on 30 points. Timmer's on 30 points. Tim and Ike is on 29. Virus is on 28. So very close in that top 5 there. J-Lock is on 22 points. Then we go to CCL Clark on 18. Kazi 15. Rebster 12. Zombie Head 11. Albon and Orphan on 8 points. And Alonso on 6. So there's F5. I've covered all the tiers now. Fantastic. So, 45 minutes gone. We now come to the tasty bit of the show. I need to end that now, because this is the overall constructors. The combined points of all teams put together to have our... I'm going to put this. Theatre. No, not theatre, showroom. There we are. So this is it. This is time for the overall constructors. So if you know that people that are interested, get them in now. Give them a couple minutes. Find out who's going to be on top. And I will say this. There's been a fair few movers. Only 2 teams have stayed where they are. Who will that be? Who will that be? Who do we think is top in the chat? Who do you think's top of the constructors? As I said, people can kind of work it out amongst themselves. If you kind of gauge by which team has been at the top this season, or not this season, this week, sorry, who's won races maybe, who's had their cars near the front of the race at the end. Lauda saying Forza Ferrari, Unity saying Forza Ferrari, VLC, you're all saying your own team, which I'm noticing. So, yes, Renner had a good week. But yeah, all's good. I'll give it another minute or so. Team Alpha, Roberts, yep. All shouting on your own team there, so... thank you, Easton. Thank you, I'll do my best. Alright, are we ready? I think we are. So, with each team, I'm going to go through them in order and say where your points were scored this week. And then we will see who is top. And I'll tell you where they moved from last week. So, we go to 10th place. Last at the moment, but still a long way to go this season, so this can very much change. So in 10th place with 76 points is Racing Point. Yeah, obviously had that difficult week last week, I believe, with just the 2 points in Bahrain. Had a little bit better this week. 22 points were scored, 12 points being the most from Man with the Cash in F2. Have struggled with consistent drivers, I must say. But no, still a long way to go. Still nothing to be ashamed of to be last at this point. There's still like 500 points available, so anybody can still win it. It's just what shows is if you do have a tough week, it can be difficult to recover. So yeah, still end of the day. So Racing Point, 76 points. Now again, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, these may change because of Stuart support that could alter the results. These may change. So, in 9th place. 9th place in Constructors is Silver Hour of the Mercedes. They are on 93 points and they remain 9th from the last season. Not last week. Why do I keep saying last season? Last week. 93 points. Their total now. Scored 31 points this week. 12 points in F4 thanks to Cicero Weber's 4th place. 18 points in F5 thanks to Cicero Clark's 2nd. Have had a trouble start, Mercedes. They haven't had the best of luck. Results, you know, could easily be better. Not due to the drivers' pace themselves. It's just they have been caught up in incidents and so on and so forth. So, 9th for Mercedes, 93 points. In 8th place is the McLaren. They are on 94 points, 1 point ahead of Mercedes, and I'm going to say it now. They've had they got 2 points. Yeah, they had what Racing Point got last week in Bahrain. This is what McLaren got this week. Only JS Lee in the points. 9th place for McLaren for the Orange team. Very troubled week, but again, their results could have been much more better if the luck was their way, but every team is going to have that. You know, Racing Point had it last week, McLaren this week, so 8th place. They were in 5th, so they have dropped a bit from last week, but as I said, it's how you recover next week in Baku for McLaren. So they are on 94 points, 8th place. 7th. Still many teams left. Still got Ferrari, Red Bull, Renault, Haas, Alpha, Toro. But in 7th place is the Rocket Williams Racing. They are on 119 points. They've got up a position, up ahead of McLaren. Their points this week, they got 56 points, thanks to the race win from Blazer Guns in F4. 12 points for the 4th place for Military Virus in F5, as well as 19 points, a good haul of points, in F3. The second, or the... Actually, no, that was all the points from Stygian, fastest lap and 2nd place. So, 7th place, 119 points for Williams, which leaves 6 left. So we've got Toro, Alpha, Haas, Renault, Red Bull, and Ferrari. So, who's in 6th place? Anybody in the chat want to guess before we reveal who's in 6th? Nothing at the moment. We wait. We go to Toro Rosso. They are in 6th place on 146 points. Was 7th again. Have got ahead of McLaren. Yeah, you all guessed right. So good. 146 points for them. Their total this week was 59 points. The only tier that didn't score points was an F2, unfortunately. But yeah, good solid points all in all the other tiers. 15 in F4, 20 in F1, Pigeon and Lando obviously with those points there. 8 in F5 and 16 in F3. Eyes the best and Salted Helmet picking up those points there. So good week for Toro Rosso. Upper place to 6th in the table. Now we go to the top 5. This is where it gets interesting now. Ferrari, Red Bull, Renault, Haas, and the Alfa Romeo team. So, all 5 of these teams, they do have a bit of a gap to the others at the moment. I would say that 5th place is Ferrari, 181 points. Easton got it. 180 points their total this week. A little bit of a troubled week for the Maranello team. 15 points in F2. RSF1 will get that podium. 18 for Unity and 12 points for the F3 duo of Duffer and Charismic. Yeah, difficult week, but again, F4 and F5 both had our drivers in good, promising positions. Got caught up in stuff, but still there. Still not that too far from the leader, I must say. So there we go. Right, why is Robert saying Forza Ferrari? You're not in Ferrari, but you've got the trend again. It's infecting the Forza Ferrari chance. Yeah, Ferrari 5th place. They were equal seconds. They have dropped a little bit this week. There they are, 5th place, 181 points. 4th place. So who is in 4th out of those 4 teams? And I can reveal that 4th place, 3 points ahead of Ferrari on 184, is Haas. Or Haas. Haas or Haas. Yep. Haas are on 184 points. They had a massive week. 94 points scored this week. They got a lot, but let's remember, obviously, they had 2 wins, F5 and F1 on 2 days in a row as well. So, and Connor Todd in F5 got the fastest lap as well. So, yeah, massive leap from Haas, up 2 places. They were quite a bit behind the leader as well. They clawed up very, very nicely. Were in 6th place, up to 4th. 3 points ahead of Ferrari, so Ferrari still snapping on their heels behind. Yeah, 4th place for Haas. Their big points, 31 points scored in F1 actually, because they had the race win, and 7th. 26 in F5, all by Connor Todd. Their points, 96 is the 94. Sorry, is the most scored by a team so far this season. So that's the title to beat, or the target to beat, if you want to beat the best one. So there we go. Right, then we move on to the top 3: Red Bull, Renault, and Alpha. Of course, one of these teams, Renault, was top last week. They remain top. Let's see, so who is in 3rd? So in 3rd place, on 192 points, is Red Bull. Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. They are in 3rd place, 192 points. So not that far ahead of Haas, not that far ahead of Ferrari. 3rd place for Red Bull. Score points in every tier this week. 18 in F2, 18 in F4. So 2 second places backed up. 14 points in F1, 12 in F5, and 6 in F3. Again, results could have been better. All the drivers were in podium potential or winning potential races. Didn't happen, but all it does with this this team, because this is the first team that scored points in every tier this week. So good, strong consistency from Red Bull so far. They've been in the top 3 since the beginning, so they continue that trend. They can stay there. So yeah, they were in 4th place. They jumped a position to 3rd, 192 points, which leaves Renault and Alpha. Obviously, Renault were top last week, but did they have a strong enough week to retain the lead, or have Alpha overtaken them back? Because remember, Alpha was winning in week 1 or after Australia. They lost the lead to Renault. Have they got it back? What do you guys think? Renault or Alpha? Who is top? By how much as well? Give a couple minutes. Minute or 2. Leave it on tenterhooks. You're going to wait until like the last week and who's won it as well. Dan says yellow or Renault. Lauda says Alpha. Well, 2nd place on 203 points is Renault. They have lost the lead. Red Bull, yeah, they were leading after week 1, sorry, but the other 2 were close. Yes, Renault are now 2nd, 203 points. 57 points scored this week. 0 points were scored in F1. That was a little bit of the sticky patch. Other than that, still very solid points. But obviously, compared to the leaders, they have lost the lead in the championship. But they're still there. Still very, very strong. Obviously, the big points coming from VRC Dan in the Renault in F3. So good from them. 15 points in F5 with Catty Babes, 3rd place. 9 points in F2, 8 in F4. As I said, none in F1. I believe both of the drivers were there in scoring positions, but again, luck did not end with them. But as I said, 203, still very strong, still hanging in there. And they could get the lead back next week after Baku's races, so you can never know. So, as I've already revealed, Alfa Romeo are back at the top of the championship season, or overall constructors. 221 points. Very consistent week. 85 points scored. The second highest of the week. 90 behind Haas is 94. So yeah, very good week for Alfa. 29 points. Obviously the race win and 8th place in F2, their biggest haul. But yeah, good, strong, consistent. And the lowest points they actually scored was 7 points in F5. So very, very strong week for Alfa. Retain the lead back. Roberts is very happy with that. Yes, of course. Yeah, still very long way to go this season. But let's just run through the points. And as I said, these may change a little bit, maybe quite a lot, if the results do change from the steward reports. But this is before steward reports are out, so this is as it stands at the moment from the race director results and me adding them up. So 221 Alfa lead. Renault are second with 203. Third is Red Bull on 192. Fourth is Haas with 184. Ferrari are fifth with 181. Toro Rosso are sixth on 146. Then seventh is Williams on 119. Eighth is McLaren. Where's McLaren? There's McLaren on 94 points. A point behind is Mercedes on 93. And bringing up the rear is Racing Point on 73. 76, sorry. But yeah, still heck of a long way to go. As I said, over 500 points still available. More than that, way more than that. Like 800 probably. Still available for the teams to gather points. And as I said, you can have a bad week one week, but then you can have a really good week next week. Still plenty to go. And loads of comments in the chat. Obviously, well done to Alfa leading this week. Yeah, Baku is a free-for-all, Lauda. I definitely agree. Definitely agree. Baku is one of these joker races. It's like Monaco. Anybody can win it. Any result can happen. Any people can finish. The points haul might not be very high for the Baku races, because this is going to be the track that'll be ahead of us. Look at it. Look at it in all its beauty. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to commentating as well, because this can be, as Lauda pointed out, it's a free-for-all. Absolute free-for-all for this week. Obviously, I don't have enough time really to go too much in detail about it, because I've already just gone over an hour, and I need to get back done. So yeah, a lot of 90-degree 90-degree corners to begin the lap. That twisty castle section, which we're all dreading. That fast section at the end, which is very difficult to get wrong, especially in wet weather, because it can rain around here. Just over 3 miles, very long lap. It's like a minute 40 something. So one of the longest laps in the season, apart from Belgium and Singapore. 20 turns. All about concentration. I rate this more difficult than Monaco, because Monaco we know, and it's, apart from like the tunnel and turn 1, it's not very fast. Baku's difficulty is fast, then 90-degree corners, heavy braking zones, difficult braking zones. Why am I pointing at the screen? You can't see why I'm pointing. Bottom left of the track, you know, that downhill left-hander where the curb is on the point. That curb can throw you into the wall on the right-hand side. I think that could be, apart from the castle section, the crunch point be the point where people are going to lose their front wing. Keeping your front wing is going to be key as well. Trap positioning and on basis of survivability. Just keeping your head. Just think of Valtteri Bottas in real life 2014. Was it? No, not 2014. 15. That year, that was crazy. When Vettel and Hamilton hit each other. Yeah, Bottas was hit on the first lap. He was like a lap down. Recovered. And got second place. So, if you get taken out or damaged, but still going in the first lap, keep going. Keep going. Because trust me, and people are saying in the chat, it's safety car fest probably. It'll be double figures over the whole week. 2017. Thank you, Easton. Yeah, it could be double figures safety car counts. Because it is on. We know it's on now. Can have a maximum of 5 per race. Could be. Imagine if we have 25, the maximum we can get in every race. I don't think that'd be the case. We don't have the drivers. You know, the drivers are good enough for that. I don't think we're going to get 5, but yeah, all should be very entertaining. So yeah, that does it for this week. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for all the comments about the quality. Obviously, my throat is very dry at the moment, but normal service will be resumed next week. We'll be back on the Saturday doing of this show. Verstappen will be back. We'll also be having a new segment or new returning segment. I'll leave it at that. From next week onwards, it'll be 8 o'clock as usual. So make sure you join us for that. I'll just recap the Baku races. We're going to have a lot to go through, I can imagine. So brace yourself for that. So for the races ahead this week, we have Sunday's race. I nearly said tomorrow. Sunday's race, which is the F2 Championship. Can Schumacher carry on his form from winning China, or can anybody else challenge him for the win? I certainly will be. I'm looking forward to Baku. I won last season to Baku. I'm going for it again, so it'll be strong. But I'm hearing there are a few contenders out there as well. So yeah, definitely be competitive. Make sure you join the action for that. That's on Sunday, 8 o'clock. Monday is the F4 race, and then they had a safety car at the last bit in China. So, how many safety cars are going to get in that one? But no, that will be returning on the Monday. F1 on the Tuesday, battling once again, very competitive, ultra fast tier. Is on Tuesday. Wednesday is the F5 division. Very close in the championship. Can Connor Todd carry on his form that he won from China? Can anybody else remember Rebster got second place last season? Can he go one step further? Can he go for the win this time out in F5? And then finally is last but not least is the F3, and there's going to be plenty of frontline speeds down that front straight. Looking forward for that. Again, same time, 8 o'clock. They're all 8 o'clock. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yes, nearly missed out F3's day. And yeah, and then we'll have the podcast once again on the Saturday once we have a day to breathe, I guess. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I've been RSF1 Brundle, and that's been the podcast of week 3. Take care and good night.